Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network present the Discover Your Mission series.
Now, I had been brought up without any prayer, without Bible, without church, nothing of that kind. And so when my father died, I became suicidally depressed. I had no desire to live. And yet, by the grace of God, whenever I got to the point of actually taking my life, I always had this interior conviction that if I took my life, I would simply find it again on the other side, and it would be permanent misery.
But it wasn't until I became a wife and a mother, and I began to try and pass my faith on to my children, that I realized that everything I knew about Jesus was memorized doctrine.
I was a good man, I was a good father, I was instilling the sacraments into my family. I was definitely not intentional. I was stuck roped to my faith.
But what kind of strength did he have? Jackie did not just have a strength of body or baseball skill. He had a strength inside of his spirit, a courageous meekness that empowered him to play the game.
And I tell him what is going on with me, and he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, I think this is like some sort of miracle, dude. And he's like, okay, of course, but I'll believe it when I see it. Honey, you've been trying to quit, and you've been saying this and saying that, and I'm his big line to me is, you shouldn't say things, because I never follow through on them. And so this was week after week, month after month. He is looking at me like, this is a miracle. There is no way that you, on your own, could have done this.
So we are called to sing. All of us are called to sing. All of us are called to express ourselves and join our voice into the unity of the church. Often with my choirs, I ask them to listen to each other, to listen to the sound that they make together as one. That's what we're aiming for. Through the harmony or unison, we're aiming for a one sound.
You need to decide, what are you going to participate in? Are you going to participate in the historic Christian idea of the altar of sacrifice, which is in the Eucharist, or not?
Welcome to the Fiat Ministry Show, episode 161. Welcome back. I've been taking a little break. A lot of busy stuff going on with Fiat, and I'm just really excited to do a show. First off, please like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, you can join us on our YouTube channel, and we can do a monthly videos that are kind of premiere videos that only you will be able to see, kind of like Patreon. We'll also definitely promote that too. Patreon is something that we're building with Patchwork Heart Ministry, Bill Snyder, and I know that he's very busy at this time. Happy Advent season to everyone, and I just want to, just make sure if you can do any kind of help financially, we're always, this takes time and some effort to get everything going, and but prayers are our number one thing, and we appreciate all the contacts and everything that we get emails and everything. Really excited about this evening's guest. He was on Tony Agnesi's show on Fiat Ministry a couple weeks ago. I know there was some weather down in his area, Louisiana, and so we had to postpone, and that's fine. But God's will, we're together tonight. Matthew has a great Dementia Rosary podcast, and he'll explain all about it, because a lot of times I think it's just a interesting way of just approach to a situation that a lot of people will deal with, and you can think about you forget about the keys or things that you do every day. But we'll get into with Matthew. But first off, we'll say a little prayer and just get into the interview after that. In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, thank you for this evening. Thank you for Matthew. Thank you for everyone that will be watching. Thank you for this time of Advent. Thank you for us to be able to wait for your Son, and just the excitement that we are that a new arrival, and just bless us with the words that you want us to say tonight, and to understand all different situations that we all have, that we deal with through our lives, and just to understand that you're always with us in any step of the way that might take us to the right path, but maybe in a different path that we would think of going. And just thank you again for Matthew for his time tonight, and everyone in the Fiat Ministry community. Thank you for all the blessings this year, and in the name of the Father, and the Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Without further
Amen.
ado, I will bring on Matthew. How are you doing, Matthew?
I'm doing well. Happy Advent, Kent.
Happy Advent. I just want to ask you, as I ask all my guests, your Fiat, your a little bit of your background, but what helped you say yes? Or I know a lot of times in a person's lives, there's a lot of yeses that you have to go through, a daily yes. But if there's some highlights or things, especially with the projects that you're doing right now, and how you kind of got to where you're at in your faith journey, that would be great to hear about.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So I'm a cradle Catholic, and unfortunately, my story's probably all too familiar to you and other people who are watching us right now. But when I went off to college, it was, Mass was optional, and I did not really stay true to my Catholic upbringing. So I went to Catholic grammar school, Catholic high school, and then I was out in the world. And had to deal with that battle, which I didn't win, and it was so I always prayed. I would sometimes say the Rosary, and it was always if I did, it was because I was in a tight spot and I really needed help. But it wasn't until 2017 when I was in my last year of graduate school for gerontology, which is the study of aging. And it was just rough with the courses, and I was having to write a thesis and run a research project in order to have the content for the thesis. And I started praying the Rosary. I would say daily at that point. Took some days off, but for the most part, it was a daily Rosary to help me with that, but also for Thanksgiving to be where I was at that point. And things just really started to change. And so I graduated in December of 2017, and I felt called, I was still saying the Rosary. I felt called to write a book about dementia and faith. And this also started, I believe Our Lady, brought these people, these caregivers into my life, because at the time I was, and I still am, facilitating a caregiver support group for our local council on aging. And people would come in, and it wasn't sponsored by a church or anything. It was a government It's a government funded thing. So, you usually don't talk about religion, but people were coming to the support group, and they were telling me what parish they were in. I'm in St. Peter's, and I'm at Our Lady of the Lake, and I'm at St. Benedict's. And, it got me thinking about Catholic resources for caregivers. And I went looking around, and there were some Christian books. I found a Catholic book, and I enjoyed that book, but it wasn't what I was thinking it would be. It wasn't what I would have written. So then I really felt called to start writing that book and drafting. So I took all of 2018 to write the book while I'm working full time. So I'm just waking up early, staying up late, raising a family with my wife. We have 3 children, and, continuing to say the rosary. And Our Lady brought me not only through it, but, made me stronger through this process of writing a book, and now marketing and doing many other projects around the book now, since it's been almost 2 years that it's been published. So now the mini projects and the consulting are what take up the time now that the book has been published.
Well, I mean, with dementia, and there's different things you could speak on to that, but bringing that into the rosary, is there some kind of and maybe some highlights of the book and all that, but how did that kind of develop with your work, and just as a working with that kind of thing as your career? Was it the book kind of an avenue to kind of get open to share with others, a situation that a lot of people will go through, and I know you were mentioning on a couple forgetting keys, and is that little things that you forget every day, that kind of is that dementia, or is that just working out things that you're just not I don't know, is that something that we deal with every day? Forgetfulness, I guess.
So we're all going to forget things. We're going to walk into a room and forget why we are there, or open the refrigerator and forget what we wanted to get, or we're going to misplace our keys from time to time, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. One of the key difference between Alzheimer's, or just a greater term, or is memory impairment or dementia. The difference between normal life and a condition, cognitive situation like dementia, is that we're eventually going to find our keys. We're going to eventually figure out what we need in the refrigerator, and we might have to walk out of that room and come back in, but we're going to remember why exactly we went to that closet or to that bedroom. So when somebody has dementia, and dementia is a really broad term. Alzheimer's is a type of dementia, and vascular type dementia is a type of dementia. So although Alzheimer's is the most common, dementia is really an umbrella term to talk about cognitive decline that can't be explained by anything else. It can't be explained by depression or a vitamin deficiency or an infection or lack of sleep or anything like that. It's something going on with the brain. We still don't know too much about it. But memory impairment is a key feature to most types of dementia. And then you can have impaired depth perception. You can have impaired communication abilities, reading, writing, finding the right words. If someone continues to say, the thing, like they can't remember that, this is a water bottle right here, or this is a computer mouse. They start to say, the thing that you control the computer with. That's when you start to get concerned. And I think it's time when someone is experiencing that, it's time to go to your primary care physician. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go see a specialist like a neurologist or neuropsychologist. It's hey, let's go to the primary care physician, who we can probably see faster anyway, and let them run some tests and do some simple memory questions or scales that they'll put you through, and see if anything comes up. If anything, we're going to eliminate things that it could possibly be.
And how does that go into, with the book and the rosary? How did that kind of expand to the book and now the podcast that you're doing? Was there that connection? Where's that connection with the rosary and dementia? I guess because I'll tell a story, and this is just just thinking, this is really touches because it's of my grandmother, and she had Alzheimer's, and it was one night, and there's many things that happened, but it just really hit me where my grandfather and my dad went to a basketball game, and my mother and my grandmother stayed home because that's how it was a guy's night out. But to then, as we came back into the house, it was our house, and my grandmother just got really upset, and I've never seen her. She was the most peaceful, wonderful person and she just got so upset with my grandfather for leaving her, and I guess it was that situation. She was at that point of, it was really setting in and all that, and it just was a really thing that I'll always remember. A sad memory, but it's a memory that says, okay, it's out there, and you have to watch out. It might be, is it something that, but you with the rosary, I think, just, could you share just how that kind of started? Because I just wanted to share that, because that's since I've watched your podcast, I just wanted to say that to you. It's just one of those things that it just means, something that for faith and a loving of someone in your family that you can't do anything for that. It's just something that you have no control. Kind of like you're saying, you still a lot of things to learn about this and try to figure out. But I think, hearing anything that you want to share about the book and bringing in the rosary, that would be great too. But I just wanted to share that with you, and it's just, I think a lot of the audience might go through that with family members and all that. It's just one of those things that is tough.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that about your family experience. There's so many people that are out there right now listening that either have it in their family, or they have a friend who their family has experienced it. So I'm sorry to hear about your family. My mother's father, so my grandfather, he was the one in the family that had some type of dementia. We don't know if it was Alzheimer's or Korsakoff syndrome from alcohol or what, but he forgot things, and his mood changed, and he escaped from a nursing facility at some point. There are so many parallels between dementia and the rosary. And, it starts with Our Lady calling me personally to write it. I felt pulled to write this book, to make a difference. And so it started with me saying the rosary. It started with, me answering her call to write the book. And one of the things that's very interesting is that with most of the dementias, most of the different types of dementia, long-term memory tends to stay intact. Everybody's different, but for the most part, long-term memory stays intact. It's short-term memory. It's people of recognize people of this decade or maybe a couple of decades back, where it gets cloudy and foggy. But Catholics who grew up saying the rosary, saying the Hail Mary, the Our Father, the Glory Be, the Fatima prayer, they tend to remember the prayers, and it tends to bring comfort. It's supernatural. It's the graces that come with saying the rosary, but it's also, and part of that's the familiarity of saying it over a lifetime. So it's very common to see in nursing homes or assisted living facilities for them to do a rosary daily, or to do it once a week. That it, and they'll get a large crowd of people. And then if you consider what we learn when we say the four mysteries of the rosary, the joyful, the sorrowful, the luminous, the glorious, it's Jesus's life on beads. And so the journey of dementia, just like most of our lives, most of us, may experience either personally or somebody of our family is going to have some kind of chronic or life-limiting illness at some point. And this just happens to be dementia that we talk about. And just like there are ups and downs, there are joys and there are sorrows and there's glory in the rosary, the same could be said about the journey of living with dementia. Now, you ask the world, right? We talked about the world that I was in battle with after college, but when you ask the world, what is dementia? What is somebody with dementia? The world says, what can they do for me? They can't remember themselves. They can't remember, friends and family members sometimes. What are they going to produce? So they're no good to me. They're a shell of a person. So we come up against that. And, also that brings up other things like assisted suicide or the right to die, so to speak. So the rosary is, the spiritual weapon against many things, but also, in this case specifically, it's a spiritual weapon against dementia. It's a spiritual weapon for life, to protect life to a natural death.
Yeah.
So when we think about the rosary, as I was saying, we have joy, you have glory, you have sorrowful. You'll have many Catholics, maybe non-Catholics, that might be on this journey and saying, why me? How could a God who is good do this to me? And all we have to do, I say it simply, it's a lot more complicated, but the simple answer is look at Jesus, and he did not exempt himself from the suffering. And ultimately he was resurrected. And overall, the book is really a story of hope. Just like the rosary is a story of hope. We're going to suffer. We're going to have good times. We're going to have bad times. And then ultimately, if we are faithful, we'll pass through the narrow gate. We'll be resurrected. We'll be in heaven. And I hope that this book is a source of hope for people. And it has been. The people who have given me feedback on it, both locally, personally, and people across the world, even up in Canada. Mm-hmm. They've told me how much hope that it's given them, and it's very humble to I'm very humbled to hear things like that, because that's why I spent those late nights and the early mornings, and gave up some weekends to do that. It was all worth it. I'd do it. I don't know how I did it, except to say point to Our Lady to give me the words and the energy, but I don't know how. Besides that, I don't know how that I was able to do, and feel really blessed to be able to bring this in other content, other like the podcast and the blog and all that other kind of stuff.
Well, and that's a great thing that you're sharing in the sense that, it's that, a thing that people go through. I mean, it's not just, it's a very, I don't know what the percentage of how many people actually have dementia, or what you would consider dementia in the sense of, but I've known people, and, just because it was in my family, I think I was kind of, I think that's the same, with, in the sense of cancer nowadays, of everybody has been affected by cancer in some aspect of, just living. Dementia's kind of in the sense, but I love how you share with the book and the rosary, and how, going through a situation, even if you're, taking care of someone that has dementia, or, even the person that's going through that, to do some kind of rosary, or to understand how the rosary is kind of that ups and downs of, Jesus' life. And, we have many ups and downs in our lives of, and to put that with dementia. But do you get, with the feedback that you're getting, are there some kind of top 3 items that they're sharing, that they're kind of their testimonies that they're sharing, or what they're feeding back to you that really touch you? Like, is there anything that you would like to share on that? Because I think it's wonderful that you have that avenue to get that feedback, because I think we're all doing this for the glory of God, but to have that little feedback to say, you're the tap on the shoulder through just an email, through a comment, anything is great. But if you had any highlights, that would be great to hear.
Yeah, you're right. Any feedback at all is such a blessing, and it's it's something you don't expect, and you don't do it for that. But when it happens, it's really special, and you don't forget them. It keeps you going. It gives you fuel for this journey that we're on in our Fiat. So recently, somebody who I didn't even so I've been corresponding with, and I've done some online virtual speaking for this organization, and I didn't realize that he had purchased the book for his mom. His mom was a caregiver for his father, who had some type of dementia, and his mom recently passed away. I want to say 2 months ago, and he told me that, he said, "I just want you to know how much of a difference the book made for my mom." And I was picking up her stuff the other day, and one of your business cards was her bookmark in her Bible. And I was just that just hit me right in the heart, which was that was, gosh, it's hard to it's like you're watching a movie sometimes, and it was such a cool thing to hear. And I couldn't even dream of writing that, sketching that out myself 3 years ago. And then here locally, a friend's husband. So I'm 44, and her husband, who was 44, he had been living with dementia, a very rare type, and they still don't know what type it was, dementia. And she would read the book to him, and the way he put it, he said that he didn't feel as alone anymore, or at least together they didn't feel alone, because wow, here's this book, and it's talking about friends and family, some friends and family scattering, not coming around anymore, which is very common. So when they read something like that's in the book, it gives them a sense of validation, and that, wow, this isn't just me. I'm not, and I'm not strange in this situation. This happens to a lot. It's very unfortunate. It just happens to a lot of people. But it's the validation. It's the the hope that it offers people. And when it's something specific, like a business card as a bookmark in a Bible, very special.
Yeah. I love that story. That's great. Do you have anything with the podcast and everything that you're doing with the blog and everything on the side of that that you would like to promote? Is there anything coming up? I know it is the Advent season coming up to Christmas, so very busy time of year in many ways. A crazy year. I'm not going to get into that, but is there anything looking, on to 2021 as a new year and kind of start for fresh with your work?
Yeah. I'm really excited to continue the education that I'm doing right now. So it was, I believe it was January this past year when I started the like a monthly interview and live rosary and the blog, and so we'll continue that. And so even April, I added some things. So as it stands now in December of 2020, I have a daily Facebook prayer and dementia tip on my Facebook page, which is at Dementia Rosary on Facebook. And then every Tuesday morning, which today's Tuesday. Yeah. So it came out this morning. There's a email newsletter that has some kind of original content. It might be some kind of graphic. It might be an article. It might be a podcast episode or a video. And then on a monthly basis, I interview and say a rosary with someone special in this field. And when I say in this field, it's sort of, it could be, it's where faith and dementia cross. So the types of guests that I've had, and you mentioned Tony Agnesi. He was we talked in November, published that in November, and this was the Thanksgiving Rosary. So we talked about gratitude, and specifically on this journey of dementia, when it can be, so difficult. Like, many people might think, how can you be grateful, or how can you find things to be grateful for when you and your family are impacted by this, this terrible condition? But that's what Tony and I talked about, and he was the right person for that. That was just a wonderful interview. And then other people that I've interviewed have been theologians. So that was in October, I believe, and physicians. So I'm also affiliated with mycatholicdoctor.com. And so we'll see people, me and other Catholic providers will see families with any condition. So there's OBGYNs, there's psychologists, there's primary care physicians. And I had a great interview with Tom Carroll. He's a palliative care physician and primary care physician up in New York. He's also president of his chapter of it's called the Finger Lakes chapter of the Catholic Medical Association. So we had a great conversation about the end of life conversation, and what does that mean in the Catholic context. So just awesome, rich conversations that I myself, find myself learning so much from. As I'm doing the interview, I'm visibly excited because they're just talking about great stuff that that couldn't come out of my mouth. It can only come out of these great guests. So I have in January. So I just recently interviewed a theologian who is at the Notre Dame Seminary here in New Orleans, Dr. Tom Neal. That will come out early January. So I'm really excited about that. He talked about his mother who had dementia. His father also did too, but more of the experiences with his mom, and actually how beautiful that transition was in her last days. What she said, her Catholic faith. It was the first time that I teared up in an interview. So it was just, and it was all because it was beautiful and it was special what he said. It wasn't sad. It was a sad situation, but the way that he experienced it is something that, we pray to Saint Joseph that all of us have in the last days of our lives. So that's probably what I'm proudest of, is that video podcast. So it's on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, which is actually Care Partner Mentoring LLC is the name of that one. But if you go to dementiarosary.com, that's the hub. You'll see the podcast, you'll see the YouTube, you'll see the blog, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really proud of the guests that I'm able to have on, because I learned so much, and I got to think that the audiences, and I'm excited about having my priest, the chaplain of our Latin Mass Society here in Covington, Louisiana. I can't wait to have Father Damien on, and just I have a physician from Tulane University that I'll record with at the end of this month. So I can go on and on, but just as you can see, I'm really excited about the videos and the people that I'm able to bring on, and they're just a gift that I hope other people will be able to experience.
Well, I feel the same way with all the shows that I've done over 10 years. Believe it or not, I take some breaks, but believe it's been 10 years. But I feel the same way with you as a guest. You learn something from every guest, but then in this kind of situation with going through these little paths that might feel like you're not going, okay, I have someone in my family, or eventually if it happens to you, in some sense of feeling that why me. And I think people need to hear uplifting and helping, in the sense of, okay, you can get through this, you can, this is what those paths of understanding that we're all here together. Let's try to if we can work out anything that can, make each other a little bit, feeling better. Because one thing about the rosary, you feel good after you're saying it as you're going. You use each bead. One of a great priest friend over in Pennsylvania told me a long time ago, and I use this as a kind of a tool when I'm going through the rosary. Is every bead is like back in the day. I know, but the sense of, a lot of times with glass going through the sunlight, going through some glass, and it gets hot, and people, like kids, would burn ants or whatever. But the sense of, he was using it as a more of a spiritual way of using the graces of God, and each bead penetrating the grace and everything that you're praying for one person, and it magnifies every time that you're praying on each bead, and you're kind of going through that, and it's just kind of a thing that I'm always thinking about, is that how you can magnify a prayer for someone through each bead, and just using that as a focus point as you're going through the rosary. But he said it much better than I did right now. But anyways, do with everybody that you're interviewing, and do you see a way that, is dementia ever going to be completely understood? Like with anyone that you're talking in the field, is it just a continuous like learning about it, kind of like you're in the sense of learning about anything that is just very vast that you can't understand? Is it just one of those things that will get, understandings of, is it the chemicals in your head, or there's more to it? It's your nutrition, your diet. If you go to a situation of how you work with yourself, exercise and everything like that, is there a way to kind of keep it out of your, because I know I'm worried that, like, as someone that I've seen as my grandmother, is that going to affect me? Is it something that goes down, through a family tree kind of thing? Is it something of that nature, or if you just work at your exercise, keeping your mind, praying the rosary, keeping your mind on a lot of things, is that something, or what would you recommend, or is there some couple of thoughts there?
Yeah. So the brain is the most complex organ that we have. Yeah. And so I'm not trained in medicine. I'm on the other side. So gerontology is sort of a partner with geriatrics. So mine's more psychology and sociology. But what I picked up from the neuropsychologists and the neurologists and the primary care physicians that I've worked with, is that, so the best information that we know now is that if you can do four things, four lifestyle things, all things that most of us have a choice in doing. If we eat well, if we exercise, if we stimulate our brain, doing things, whether it's, reading or learning a language, or just doing something that, gets us to think about something differently. And the fourth thing would be socialization, like staying active with social organizations, with our parish ministries, with other extracurriculars. So those four things, while there's not a huge amount of evidence behind them, that's sort of the contemporary thinking, and probably I would say our best bet in things that we can control, because we can't control our genetics, right? But we can eat better, we can move, we can socialize with people, and we can use our brains, that as God intended us to do. And what I like about that list of four things is that there is really no downside that I can think of to eating well, not it doesn't, and someone might say, well, cost, but it doesn't always cost. It doesn't cost a lot necessarily to eat well. Now, most of it's, I think it's a cost of time, planning ahead to know where you're going to be and having a meal that's, it's going to help you avoid fast food, and I know it's challenging if you're traveling, but that's just one example of the four, where if you put some time into, thinking about it, these are things that we can all do with little or no side effect to possibly prevent. And it's really the best thing that we have. And what I always say is, not only is there no or little to no negative side effect for those four things, but you're going to feel better anyway. If you're working out, even in a minimal way, if you're eating better, even in a minimal way, hanging out with people and learning things, life's generally good. It's going to be better than if you're not doing those things.
Well, I totally agree with that, and thank you for that. Any final words? We're getting, and I didn't want to keep you all night, but I really appreciate, Matthew, your time, and just again, I think dementia it will affect most people in their lives, and to actually bring dementia and the Rosary together, just a wonderful way of keeping active, and to really focus on Jesus's life, in the sense of going through. I love that scenario, looking at how a person that might be going through dementia, or yourself that helping a caregiver going through that with someone, to take that time, that daily rosary, that we can really build on a love and life. Because so many people are praying the rosary right now. We just need more people, but to keep going. But if there's any final thoughts, I really appreciate your time, Matthew, and it was a really honor to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, Kent, to be here with you, to be on Fiat Ministries. Just a few closing thoughts. One thing I didn't get to mention it when I was talking about dementia in general, is that it's not normal aging. So while we might all know somebody who's impacted by it, it's not inevitable that we're all going to get it if we live to a certain age. So we can not, definitely not this. We don't have to despair in thinking that it's going to happen just as a matter of aging. So that's not the case, thank goodness. I would also mention the Rosary, that Our Lady of Fatima, she called us to say the Rosary daily. So it's a privilege to have this platform, not just tonight, but just to have the dementia platform as a way of propagating Our Lady's Rosary that was handed down, to St. Dominic. And so I encourage people to do that, to say the Rosary themselves, even if it takes you all day. You space it out throughout the day, because people have different life situations and attention spans, and sometimes people maybe they need to pray for the desire to say the Rosary. That would help them to do that. But however they get there, Our Lady wants them there, is going to help them get to that spot where they are saying a Rosary each day. To think about the 15 promises of the Rosary, and in there are special graces for ourselves and our loved ones. And when we're going through any chronic illness, especially dementia, who couldn't, who would turn down signal graces, when we're trying to get through the day-to-day slogging of, or what could be day-to-day slogging of caregiving, because there are good days and then there are very challenging days. And then finally, just like we want to keep Fiat Ministries and you in all of our prayers. Please keep me in the ministry, this ministry for memory impairment, in your prayers. Tell people about it.
Sure.
I'm convinced, at least I hope, that if people, if there are Catholics out there that you share this ministry with, say, hey, there's a Catholic ministry for people who have memory impairment, like Alzheimer's and frontal temporal dementia. I'm hoping that if people go to the website and they see the content, I'm hoping that they're immediately hooked and see it as a source of practical education, and also some hope. So I think it's just getting people to DementiaRosary.com. It's getting people to, when they're there, to take a look at the preview of the book and look at the blog and check out some of the guests. So that's my hope. So if everybody could, help spread the word,
sure,
I would definitely appreciate that. And so one last thing is, when you're at that website, I collect prayers. So we have a dementia prayer wall at the website, DementiaRosary.com. So you can go to that. You could add your prayer intention. You can use your first name. You can use your initials. You can make up a name. No one's going to see your email address, but people will see your prayer intentions, and I'll feature them on my Dementia Rosary dailies. I'll ask people to visit and to pray for them. So you'll have a lot of people praying for you. So most of all, that's something else I'm really proud of, is that we have an opportunity, a privilege to pray for everyone in the audience that needs those prayers.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. And just thank you, Matthew, again for this evening. And again, the book. Really, Dementia Rosary.com is the place to go. That's the hub. Everything else you can find. We've been putting up with the podcast. You see the image. And just again, thank you. God bless you. Happy Advent and early Merry Christmas to you and your family. Just a wonderful season. Just celebrate with everything. But to learn about this and to keep up with anything that is going on in anyone's family's lives of any kind of dementia, to talk to, please send any questions to Matthew. We'll, definitely, if you want to send them, but definitely go to DementiaRosary.com and do the prayer wall and ask for your prayers right there. And I will again thank you, everybody. We'll be back. I'm hoping to go back in the next year. We're busy doing a lot of stuff on the side. I have a couple shows that we're working on producing, and I will be back. I know everybody, but we do appreciate everybody at Fiat Ministry Network, at Patrick Hart Ministry. Everyone, we're in a team. We're all here together. Matthew too. I think it's a great with Tony too. It's just a great connection of great fellowship and just that love that people have is amazing. Doing this for 10 years. I did not think the network of people that would have met would be possible, but it's impossible. With the internet's kind of it helps a little bit easier. But anyways, enough of that. But God bless everybody. We will see you next time on the Fiat Ministry Show. God bless and good night.